Another exciting adventure in preservation and renovation.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us again, Donna.
You're welcome.
What are we tackling today?
Well, today we're going to tackle vacuuming. We're going to tackle the first stage in cleaning. So what we have done here is a HEPA vacuum. A HEPA vacuum is basically a vacuum that filters the exhaust that comes out of the vacuum so that you are not pushing dust and dirt that you've just vacuumed up back into your space.
What a notion.
Yes. So it's very clean. It's relatively quiet. We have a very small, I'm going to put this over my shoulder. This is a little awkward sometimes. But basically we're going to turn the vacuum on. This is where the suction is. I have brush. I have actually 3 different brushes here because depending on the size of the area that I'm working in and the delicacy of what I'm trying to vacuum, I might want to go to a different brush that has a lighter bristle to it or is just in general smaller. So I'm going to start with this one. Turn that on. So we're going to start with this rooftop here and basically reveal actually the color. Now I can see that this brush is a little soft, but it's doing nicely. I don't want to do that. It's getting into the little grooves and details of the actual roofing. I might want to switch to a smaller brush here so that I can push some of this. This was our loose sign that we saw earlier that's really only held on by the fiber optic component. A little wobbly. So I might back away from that area just not to create a problem. But basically, each component of the model will receive this kind of cleaning. So you'll have, now these palm trees are very sturdy because unlike the natural foliage, they're made of metal. So it's a kind of sheet metal that's been cut into this bronze shape. This is a copper wire, we know that, with some grating around the top to replicate kind of that, what that looks like on a palm tree where the fronds have newly fallen off. Some of this foliage I don't really want to brush. I'm kind of tapping. It's not really necessarily a final cleaning, but I just want to create a little bit of a disturbance on the surface to help move some of the dust that's settled. This foliage being what it is, we're probably going to have to go back in and kind of do a little more. But at this point, I don't really want to tackle that yet. And then you can see that, you know, it gets a little tricky as you start moving into an area that's densely populated by foliage, by buildings. You know, our access is really tight in here, so it's going to take a lot of kind of moving around to get in safely without bumping into anything else. And it kind of shows you how having all of those loose elements out of the way is really helpful, because right now you're really just focused on kind of a certain quadrant of the model and not really focused on other issues that might be in the vicinity. So I can work in here with a degree of comfort and relaxation that I'm not going to accidentally damage something. But as you can see, the vacuuming process is not fast. It's very satisfying, though. I will say that.
Yeah, the detail on the roof, like this.
Yeah, it's
that roof there is pretty cool.
You know, you just kind of go along, and all of a sudden, you know, you've got a whole different color. And what you'll notice on areas where we've done this is that there's a palette to the model in general. There's a palette of color. And what you start to notice after a while is that there's a palette that seems very uniform, and then there's things that stand out, and that's when you start to realize, oh, that doesn't go with that. And it doesn't go with that because somebody put it on at a later date. An interesting component here, and I don't know if you can see this, but it's an example of sort of some of the things while you're vacuuming, because you're so close up on the piece. What you start to see is that this wall was painted, and it's overpainted a window. You know, and initially that might not be so obvious, but as you start spending some time doing what I'm doing, you start to be really focused on that wall and that detail. So this stage of cleaning for me is always really informative, because it really starts to get your eye trained to look to see what's going on here, as opposed to and to recognize certain things. You start to recognize what's consistency to the model, both on a small scale and on a larger scale. And that's really helpful before you start going in to do other kinds of cleaning that are less, that require a little more attention and a little more thinking to make sure that you're not taking off more material than you need to be taking off, i.e. the dirt and grime.
Yeah.
So this is a nice first pass into really becoming familiar with the actual material component, and you start thinking about, okay, now in the next phase, this is what I'm going to do.
And you would probably mark that painted window, like, oh, make a note, okay, we need to go and examine that later. And it's funny, because when you start working, I start to make maps in my head. But best practice would be that I would take out that inventory sheet and circle this and say, or start photocopying the inventory sheets to make my own marks of, I need to come back to that. This is, I saw this, I don't want to forget this, I need to come back and take that overpaint off. Okay, cool.
That would be the best practice.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll wait and see what happens next.
All right.
More adventures.